Talk to me. What's going on, family? It's your boy Biggs Vibes, and we are back. This is day number 10, man. Look, the number 10 is so special to me. So hopefully today is combined of two amazing videos. All right, as we go through today. All right, we are lined up for day number 10 on our 30-day challenge, where we will be going through all three courses that are being provided by Meta. Okay, they are providing three courses that are teaching people their platform within augmented reality. All right, this is literally the next phase of technology that is going to be immersed amongst our everyday lives. You have companies like Apple, Meta, uh, Google, Snap, literally so many companies out here creating headsets and different devices. I even saw a $89 augmented reality headset today, because this is going to be so immersed in so many different things that we do when we go to events, the fashion that we wear, the tickets that we buy, the art that we see on the wall, murals. This is going to be a part, and it's also going to be a very crucial part to marketing. Okay, so make sure that you're looking at this, as a expressive outlet as well, but it's also a business model opportunity that you can put yourself in the forefront of as this market begins to develop and emerge over the next few years. So again, we'll be going over all three courses. There's a beginner's course, which we went through day 1 through 6. You can always go back to my channel, go to the playlist tab, and you will see every day that we stream will be on there and available. So the first quick start, beginner course was day 1 through 6. We're now on the second course, AR fundamentals. This is actually the intermediate course. And then there's the pro course. That's going to be the third course right before we take the certification. The certification makes you official. It's $150. You can apply and take it, or you can just completely learn everything and then just go as a freelancer without the cert. It's completely up to you. All right. So with that being said, man, I genuinely want to say that I appreciate everybody that's been tuning in. We've been racking up views, comments, people reaching out to me via DM. Our very first filter, ladies and gentlemen, already has here. Let me give you exact numbers. These numbers were captured earlier today, actually. All right. 620. This was from day 5. Today is day 10. On day 5, we posted our first filter. 5 days later, 623 impressions, 8.3 thousand opens, 269 captures, which means we're just getting started, ladies and gentlemen. And with that being said, let's go ahead and dive into today's curriculum. You will be able to see the videos live with me. You'll be able to see notes that I do take. I'll open up the studio as well when it's time. And with that being said, let's go ahead and rock out. All right. Appreciate you guys. Let's get it. Let me switch the audio to my laptop real quick. Boom, boom. Okay. Cool.
There are some questions I tend to hear a lot from people who are just starting to get into building for Spark AR Studio. And in this section, we'd like to try and answer these questions for you. They largely revolve around, well, now that I'm starting to build for Spark and for AR, what should I make, or what can I make? Where can I get inspiration, or how do I make something successful? As well as I'm not sure where to start. And this section is designed to help you answer that question. What should I make? Now, before I introduce a framework we can use to help answer this question, I first want us to think about who we're making our AR experiences for. What we should or what we could make is really going to depend on who is going to be using the AR experience that we're building. So we need to get really tight on who are the people who are going to be using our AR experiences. This is the first step towards working out what to make. Now, you may already have a really clear idea of who those target users are. Maybe, for example, you're like, hey, I'm an in-house developer at a brand or at an agency, and so I'm building experiences for our current and our potential future customers, and we know those people really well. And in that case, this is going to be a pretty straightforward question, trying to work out who these people are. But what about if you're a third party or external developer and you're wanting to get paid by brands to make AR experiences for someone else? In that case, you need to keep in mind that you're not building for the brand necessarily, but you're building for the people that the brand wants to target. They're going to be the people who are enjoying the experiences that you're building for them. It's just that you need to take those brand considerations in on top of it. You may be saying, no, I don't want to be a developer. I don't want to get into brand stuff. I just want to build for myself on Instagram, for example. And if that's the case, you then need to ask yourself the question, well, are you going to still publish those experiences, those AR effects, those filters for other people to use? Are they going to live on your account, but are other people going to use them? And if so, you're still making these experiences, these effects for them. And so we need to keep those people in mind. It may be that you're saying, no, not even that. I'm a creator. I'm going to leave these effects unpublished, these experiences unpublished. They're not going to be out there for anyone to use but me, in which case your target user is yourself, and this entire process is going to be a lot easier for you. In any case, once we know who we're building for, we can put that person or that group of people right at the center of our building process. And then we can use them to help guide us towards what we should make and how we should go about making it. This process is called human-centered design thinking, and that's what we're going to talk about for the remainder of this section. So what is design thinking? Largely, it's a process used to understand the user, who we're making our AR experiences for, to question any preconceptions we might have about the potential solutions we have for them, to really get to the core of the problems that we're actually trying to solve through AR. And we use design thinking in order to develop solutions that might not have been obvious at the outset, indeed to work out what to make. Now, there are a lot of design thinking frameworks out there, but for the purposes of bringing design thinking to life, we're going to focus on the 5-phase model from Stanford University's D School. Now, there are 5 modes or phases of design thinking in this framework. Very generally, in order, these phases are to empathize, to define, to ideate, to prototype, and to test. Now, it's important not to think of these phases or modes of design thinking in thinking frameworks out there, but for the purposes of bringing design thinking to life, we're going to focus on the 5-phase model from Stanford University's D School. Now, there are 5 modes or phases of design thinking in this framework. Very generally, in order, these phases are to empathize, to define, to ideate, to prototype, and to test. Now, it's important not to think of these phases or modes explicitly as steps that we follow sequentially, because they're not necessarily sequential. They can run in parallel, or you might, and you do often, if you're following the process correctly, really repeat previous steps. So once you get to, say, testing, you might go back to prototyping again, and then you may even go back to defining again, and so on. There's a lot of excellent info out there that you can dig into if you want to go really deep on this whole process. But for now, in this section, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of design thinking. So the first step, as mentioned, is to empathize, to develop empathy for the people who are going to be using your experiences. This is all about having a deep understanding of what the users of your experience actually want and need. We really want to uncover what's motivating these people. So what are the problems that they have, and what are they trying to solve for themselves? They may not actually know, but that's what we're here to work out. We need to think about the context or the environment in which they're trying to solve these problems, how are they going about them and what's happening at the time, and so on and so on. Now, we can work all this out in a bunch of ways. We can observe and study the way people are already using, say, Instagram in general, or AR experiences on Instagram in particular. For example, we can be looking at what people are doing right now across Instagram with selfie or world cam AR effects. Or we could start our research off platform, maybe on a sports field and talking to sports people about what challenges they face as they're trying to engage their favorite games. Or maybe in the kitchen, talking to chefs or cooking fanatics. This is going to be particularly relevant if you're building for something like glasses, where the use cases are much newer and less established than what we're seeing on a platform like Instagram. We can also try talking to the people in our target demographic. We really want to interview them and engage with them and ask them all kinds of questions to really help uncover what is it they want to do and why. So if you're interviewing someone about the kinds of effects they're maybe already using on Instagram and why, you just ask these nice open questions, continually trying to dig deeper and dig deeper into their motivation. So how often do you post? What kind of frame of mind are you in when you're posting to Instagram? What kinds of content do you try and post? Oh, that's interesting. Why do you post that kind of content and so on? It's really important not to lead anyone if you're interviewing them or trying to bring your preconceptions to what you think about the kinds of content you're seeing people posting, or bringing preconceptions about the kinds of problems you might think, say, a sports person on a football field or something is facing. We really need to make sure, and this is a really common phrase, to not develop a solution that's in search of a problem. We want to make sure we're uncovering what the problems actually are first, and then we start to work on the solutions to those problems. So we let the answers find us, and we stay open-minded and we stay curious as we go through this phase, trying to work out who are these people, what do they want, where are they going in life, what's valuable to them, what's important to them. As you're going through this process, you can keep taking lots and lots of notes and trying to get that really clear picture of who these people are. It's probably important here as well just to call out that we really need to disambiguate our needs as developers or as businesses or brands from the actual user needs. Oftentimes, if we're developing for a brand, it's the brand that's telling us, we really want this and we really want that, and it has to have this and it has to have that. But that's not the user need. That's not the user of the experience talking. So by talking to the people that the brand is trying to target, we may actually be able to push back on what the brand is saying and help guide them to a more optimal solution. Of course, I'm not saying disregard what your brand is actually asking for or whoever is paying your bills. We need to try and find a good synthesis in the end between all of those needs. But it's important that we're solving for the end user. Success for the end user will be success for the brand. And so with all of these notes about the actual users that we want to build for, we can start trying to define the problems that we're solving for. So this phase is all about defining the problem in order to create value in the product that we're building or the experience that we're delivering. So taking all of our notes and synthesizing them, we can start to try and extract meaningful learnings from them. First, we can look at the users themselves. If we look for patterns, we can start to then group people into different archetypes, which we can refer to as personas. So looking at Instagram users in total, for example, we can then create subgroups of people who share common characteristics and have common problems. It's then going to be much easier to solve for those people. For example, we may be planning on building something for the beauty influencer space on Instagram. But we can further break that down into maybe nano influencers that have really small followings, but they're growing, and much larger influencers that have their own established makeup lines already and this kind of thing. Because although all these people come under this umbrella of a beauty influencer, they're going to have really different needs at different growth stages of their careers in that space. So they're going to have different values. They're going to be looking for different things to solve for. From there, we can start to create problem statements. We can turn those insights about our users into pithy statements that are going to guide our further thinking as we move through this design process. And so these statements should really be narrow enough to be useful, so not too crazy broad and generalized, but at the same time, they should be broad enough to allow some creative scope. So if they're too narrow, then they're going to be really prescriptive. And importantly, they should also focus very much on the user needs. For example, for a beauty influencer, the problem statement, speaking on behalf of that particular target demographic, may be help me feel more confident sharing a selfie. That may be a common problem that people are experiencing. Maybe they're not feeling up to sharing today, and we can give them an AR experience that's going to make them feel more confident to take a snap and post it. It may be that the job to be done for them, that the problem we're trying to solve is to help their content stand out in a sea of lookalike content. So we might frame that problem statement as help my content stand out in a sea of lookalike content. For everyday users, however, it may be something like, give me something funny to share so I can entertain my friends. Or maybe something like, I want to participate in a cultural movement, but I don't know what to say. So we can then design and develop experiences that help to solve these particular problems that people might have on the platform. If we're building for a brand, for example, we also need to think, as mentioned before, about the brand problem to solve a bit more specifically. So are they hoping to move to an upper funnel solution or a lower funnel solution? This is going to need to be factored in as a corollary to our user problem statement to make sure when we're coming up with our ideas in the next phase, this is all accounted for. We can also keep in mind that as we move towards glasses, our problem statement may simply be something like, I'm always losing my keys and I need to find them quickly. This is a prime space where we can apply AR to help people solve these common problems. Once we have this really clear problem statement,
I like that type of. I like that. He said that augmented reality is going to be used in a bunch of different type of ways, and one could be that you have a feature where you're like, he said, as we move towards glasses instead of the headsets. He said, hey, I lost my glasses, and then augmented reality be able to, I'm sorry, keys. Hey, I lost my keys. So then the glasses will be able to help you go and find those keys using augmented reality. I've seen something vaguely similar to this a while ago, but to be able to actually have on your device, and no matter if it's under the couch in a pile of clothes in a pocket of your sweater, like augmented reality literally be able to tell you like how many feet away you are, what direction to turn, and all that. That'd be next level. And even thinking of that type of like intertwine in our real life, that even broadens my scope of thinking into how many other things this type of technology could be used for once we have glasses and it's less bulky or too much to carry around for us to be able to use the mixed reality. So that's deep right there. I like that a lot.
We can start trying to come up with ideas to solve for them. So the ideation phase is typically the bit we try to jump to way too quickly. But let's put that to the side for a second because I want us to take a moment. That's that we know typically, especially if we're studying this course, that we want to try to use AR, But we do need to stand back at some point in this process, and it might as well be now, to ask ourselves if we should be using AR to solve this problem at all. Is this a problem that AR can or should solve? Obviously, we're doing this course, so we know we probably want to use AR to solve it, but it's not always appropriate. So does the problem statement we've developed speak to maybe something that's happening in the bathroom or in the bedroom? AR may be way out of bounds in those spaces, or it may be more of a practical consideration. For example, maybe the problem statement is something along the lines of, help me to sleep better. I think maybe we'd be stretching a bit if we're trying to find a way that we can use AR to help people sleep better, but you never know. If it's help me sleep better while I'm asleep, people's eyes are closed, they're not really listening, so maybe there's not a space for AI here. So for practical reasons, or for privacy reasons, or there are a range of other reasons, maybe AR isn't the answer. But assuming it is, we can start trying to find inspiration and we can brainstorm some ideas. Now, there are loads of brainstorming techniques out there to come up with ideas, but you're going to find the process a lot easier if you have that clear problem statement to begin with. So what we really want to do during this ideation phase is to just try and get loads of different ideas out and try not to judge any of your ideas as well. Don't go, no, that's a bad idea. I'm not going to put that down. We just want to riff and get as many ideas out as we can. There are no bad ideas at this stage. If you're struggling for this inspiration, there are loads of sources that you can consult, both across the Spark AI ecosystem and more broadly out there in the internet and the world. One of the great places you can go to, of course, is the Spark AI community on Facebook. People are posting lots of inspirational bits and pieces that maybe you can take some inspiration from. It could be creative, it could be technical. There's all sorts of great stuff happening in that vibrant space. It could be that you take inspiration from something like the quick tips that I put out, where we're looking at new features. So each time a new version of Spark is coming out, I'm putting out a quick tips video that's highlighting all the headline new features in that release. So you may take some inspiration from a new technical capability that's become available as well. You can be looking through the Instagram effect gallery, where you can scroll endlessly all the amazing stuff that people are making and dive straight into those to test them out. And you can be really thinking as you're going through that gallery, questioning yourself, what is it about this effect that works and what is it about this effect that doesn't work? We can then take all the best bits of a range of different effects and maybe synthesize them together into one super solution. Conveniently as well, of course, the Instagram effect gallery has keyword search, and it could be a really, really rich vein to mine. If you follow the Spark AR creators accounts on Facebook and Instagram and sign up to the mailing list, then you're going to hear lots of stories as well from other creators, hearing about new product opportunities and so on that will really feed your imagination here. Of course, there are loads of other social media platforms that you can go and explore with AR solutions on those as well, where you might see what kind of capabilities people are really exploring on those platforms, what kind of trends are coming and going and happening there. And there's a load of inspiration you could take from computer games, especially on platforms that have really novel UI or UX interaction patterns. Platforms that are a bit more forward-facing maybe could be a really cool place to come up with some excellent ideas. But of course, you could go well outside the digital world as well. You may find even just walking around an art gallery, some inspiration will strike, or looking at some installation art. There's, of course, movies and especially sci-fi. And one of my favorites, music video as well. I've often gotten inspired by a lot of stuff I've seen in music videos because they're just so richly creative. So once we've taken all our inspiration from all these different sources and bubbled up lots and lots of different ideas based on the problems we're trying to solve, we can then work out which seem to be the most promising, which should therefore be progressed. So we can put a whole bunch of those ideas to the side and pick out a small handful of just the best ones. It's important at this stage not to pick out the single best idea and go, that's it, I'm done. But instead to pit a few against each other, just so we're giving each an even chance to really shine. Because from here, we're going to move into the prototyping phase. And it may be that an idea that we had that was maybe our, number 3 pick, when we put it into the prototyping, we find out actually this is amazing. The way this feels is much more exciting than the way it sounded as an idea. So it's important to riff around as we move into prototyping.
All right, we're just going through really some lecture on these 2 videos. Getting started can sometimes be the most challenging part. Dan will give us some tips on approaching new AR projects and understanding, some good mindset, some good mentality on approaching a project here. I think that's like some bonus. All right, what to create? The last 2 that he gave on the list: prototype and test. All right, let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Quick little lecture day, Practice some of your augmented reality. Oh, if y'all don't follow me on Instagram, y'all might be missing out. You know what I mean? You might be missing out. I dropped the idea yesterday on my Instagram story that got a lot of attention, got a lot of DMs, got a lot of people hitting me up like, yo, bro, you're on to something. All right. I was about to show y'all a little sample. You know what? Follow me on Instagram for sure. Make sure you tuned in. But just know we got something coming for sure. All right. Second episode of the day, we are going with what to create. We're going with prototype and test. All right. Just quick notes, and we are out of order.
So besides the last step of the ideation phase, the prototyping phase is also one that we tend to jump straight to, completely skipping over the previous phases. However, having a really strong set of ideas that are based on really well understood problems, driven by insights about specific users who we have deep empathy for, is going to make your prototyping much easier, and we're going to guarantee more success as we come out the other end of this pipeline. Now, when it comes to prototyping, we can just create really lo-fi prototypes, like maybe a storyboard on paper or on a whiteboard, to help explain and map out the user flow. How do we get from one step of this experience to the next? What's it going to look like? Maybe it's a Pinterest board or some other mock-up, but it could also be a really high fidelity prototype, like a video mock-up, where we jump into maybe some video editing software and bolt the experience together using post-production. However, prototyping in Spark is super easy. And this is something I see happening a lot, that people tend to make the mistake of over-baking their prototypes outside of Spark. Spark has been designed to make it super fast to build simpler effects. So you can use templates. The very first welcome window that pops up when you launch Spark is going to give you those templates to choose from that you can base your experiences on. Once inside Spark, you've got patch assets and blocks and scripts, 3D models and the like, all inside the Spark AR library. There's also really handy patches like the native UI patches for the picker and slider that make it really quick and easy to set up UI. And then outside of Spark, we've also got loads of really generous creators posting amazing content on repositories like GitHub that you can go and grab and use very quickly and easily. So by just grabbing this stuff and bolting it together, especially using those 3D models in the Spark AR library, we can really quickly develop robust prototypes that help to easily communicate what it is we're trying to build. So ultimately, throughout this prototyping phase, we want to get to a point where we can really quickly bring an idea to life so we can see if it works or not, both creatively and technically, to feed it into testing. So again, try not to overbake your prototypes. Don't get too much into storyboarding in slide decks and whatnot, because it is really easy to jump straight into Spark and knock out a few different ideas for a few different prototypes and take it from there into testing. So the last phase of our design thinking process that we use to work out what we are going to make is of course testing, and it's pretty straightforward. This one does what it says on the tin. We really want to test our prototypes to see if they do what we want them to do. So ultimately, do they solve the problem that we've identified for those users, and are those users happy with that solution? So, of course, that means we need to test with those users. We need to get feedback from as broad a range of people representing that persona, that demographic, as possible. With Spark AR, you can generate testing links for effects on the platform that you can then send to people for feedback on the actual AR experience before you launch it. So you don't need to publish it. You can send out that testing link. And then from there, you can get really solid feedback from people about how is that experience performing from maybe a creative or storytelling or navigability perspective, and B, how is it performing from a technical perspective? Importantly, we want to test on a range of devices as well. If we're building for mobile in the Facebook or the Instagram or Messenger apps, for example, we need to test on a range of devices from different performance classes. So maybe the really expensive latest flagship phones down to really cheap phones to work out, is our experience going to work on that full range of devices that represent all the different devices that people might be using. And we also want to make sure that we're testing on iOS versus Android. But in any case, those testing links are going to help us get a long way there. You may, of course, also be testing your paper prototypes or your whiteboard storyboard, bringing people in to have a look at it. That's also going to work too, but you're going to collect either way a bunch of really great information. Depending on your situation, you could also try a launch to learn approach where you publish the experience directly to your profile. This probably works best if you're creating for yourself. Publish to your profile, evaluate how it goes live, and then maybe tweak it a bit, republish it, and update that effect based on what was working well about it and what wasn't working well. That's an approach. This launch to learn approach is probably not going to work too well for a brand who want to have this big flagship moment where something clean is going out. But again, it can work well for individual creators. Now, although testing is listed as the last phase, it's of course and shouldn't be necessarily the end point. The process that we're going through with design thinking is intended to be iterative. So based on what we find out through our testing, we may and we should go back to earlier steps, maybe redefine or adjust our assumptions, tweak the prototypes, maybe even scrap an entire prototype and start again to adjust, accommodate, and try and get those better results in testing that we're really looking for to make sure our users are really happy. So that brings us to the end of our whistle-stop tour of design thinking. So let's recap. First, we want to empathize, to really understand who we're building this for. Who are those people? What do we need to know about them so we can keep them front of mind as we move through the process? We then need to define the problem space that we're trying to solve for. So what is the actual problem that these people are facing that we can say, all these people tend to struggle with? What really do they value and what are they trying to do? We then ideate to generate as many possible solutions to that problem that we've identified as possible. And we then boil those ideas down to a select few likely candidates that can move into prototyping. Once they're in prototyping, we really want to sketch out how those ideas are going to come to life so we can get a feel for what those ideas actually look like as an experience. And from there, we move into testing, where we want to test those prototypes to evaluate how well they indeed solve that problem for those users. This altogether is going to give us a really clear path to answering that question, what should I create? And in doing so, we'll create real value for people.
They should have a graphic as they end screen. Brandon wise. Yo, that's day 10. Day 10 was light, bro. See, I said I had a special vibe about day 10 or the number 10. And you know, we just got a smooth lecture, base, core, foundation. All 5 things we need to be thinking about. Empathize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. Very simple, but definitely something you want to just start your projects with those 5. So I'm taking it all in, right? I'm taking it all in. This is definitely what I'm going to be looking to do at the beginning of my projects, looking at those 5 things. Is there a EDIPT? Might have to come up with a DEI. Might have to come up with some type of acronym for this. Yeah. I don't know. We're gonna come up with something. Just remember that we gotta do that on the front end. Tomorrow, I think this is actually the last video. Facts. This is the last video of part 1. We're moving on to part 2. Create augmented reality with Spark AR. Look, I feel like this is a 3.5 hour session. So we got patch editor, a 36-minute using interaction patches, 21-minute target tracking 3D. Oh, these are good. These are the ones. I think this is where we're really about to get a good cook-up. Lessons, adding complexity. Wow. Yeah, okay. So, wow, this looks like this is about to really be the thick of it right here. The patch editor, we got the target trackers, the textures, the materials. Then we take it to a complex level. These 28, 24 minutes long. Yeah, this is about to be a cook-up, man. So look, day 11 through day 16 it looked like. These about to be really, really, really good, man. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in. My bad, I should have pulled this up for y'all. These are what we're looking at, man. This is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking at. This is what we are looking at, bro. It look like we about to get real, real, real. We about to get real, real, real. I ain't lying. All right, 24, 28, 8, 13, 11. Talking about adding complexity. That's what we like. Let's get it. All right. With that being said, man, you guys have a good day. Make sure that you remember you can always go back. You can always like every video. Bro, if somebody go back and comment on every video, like, I'm probably only going to say this in this video. So if you go back and you comment on every video, we need to have a talk. Because you just came to the end of this video all the way on day 10. You feel me? Like you're in a special position right now. So if you hear this,